Hi guys, and welcome to this week's bot clinic. I'm joined this week again by my partner Imran, and we're going to spend a little bit of time just going through your questions and also reviewing a few bots that you very kindly sent in. Now, before we start, as normal, please put a 1 in the chat just to let me know that you can, first of all, hear us all okay, and secondly, see us and also see my screen that I'm sharing. You should see my browser with a website on it. So yeah, please do let us know that you can see everything and hear us all okay. And the other thing, guys, is I mentioned what we want to do on these clinics is go through your questions. So what we really rely on is you sending questions in. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to start by reviewing a couple of bots just to give you guys some time to send some questions in the chat. And then by the time we finish reviewing the bots, you should have a large chunk of questions in there that we can go through, and then we'll go through those through to the end of today's session. So yeah, please do keep them coming in. We can't ever have enough questions. A lot of them are going to be duplicated, so we don't want to repeat all of the questions. So we want lots of unique questions, please, guys. So again, hi Imran, welcome.
Hi Simon, thanks for the intro. Yeah, really excited to get started today. We thought we'd start off the session, try and have some kind of formal structure to these sessions and start off with reviewing a couple of bots. Thanks to everyone who sent in their bots, we really appreciate it. We kind of purposely picked out a couple today, as you'll soon find out. So should we kick off and start with reviewing the roofing bot?
The roofing bot, yeah, we can do that. I'm going to come over here. So this is a full page bot. I'm just going to load it from the beginning again, actually, just so we can see the full bot.
Brilliant. So as Simon said, it's a full page bot. You know, we also call these conversational landing pages or bot landing pages. The first thing that struck me about this bot was I really like the background. It's kind of a gentle image that blends in. It's obviously very appropriate to the service that's being offered. Often you kind of see images that are a bit kind of too bright or kind of distract from the chat content, but this is a nice faded image. Also the chat blocks themselves, you know, using a color that's contrasting nicely with the background design. So, you know, that's a really good initial sign. One thing I thought though is perhaps the bot icon. Obviously that's going to be quite small. So something that, you know, is very easily visible on a chat would be something that I recommend, because often you can just find it's quite difficult, you know, with such small images to really identify the bot icon clearly. So first off with this, I kind of like the fact that you're introducing the business to brand straight away. You know, that's great. We've got an image there as well. You know, we're big on kind of using images, roughly 1 image per bot, sorry, per chat sequence. So if you see something like this, there are like 1, 2, 3, 4 chat lines in there. We call that a sequence. And as we've often kind of tried to drum home in the past, the opening sequence of your chat is just so crucial. You know, your chat, it kind of can make or break your whole conversation. So this is nice and short, which is fantastic. Some feedback on this though, the yes or no options. We did discuss this on the last clinic. Personally, I don't think you should be using a no option in the opening sequence, because, you know, generally people who land on your page or land on your bot are there for a reason, and it's highly unlikely that they're not interested in roofing services, you know, because they're on a roofing site or, you know, wherever this is being hosted. So that's a little bit of feedback there. Mentioning the name, you know, that's really good. I'm Ben, and using an emoji there, that's awesome. That kind of fits in the conversational style. It's not clear whether it's a bot or like you kind of, you know, or you're passing as a real human, which is fine. But generally, we kind of advise to either make it clear that it's a bot, or like this, be perhaps a little bit vague and kind of just represent the business. Some people really like to make it obvious that it's a bot, so that, you know, people don't get kind of not quite tricked, but like, aren't under the impression that they're talking to a real human, and perhaps might get frustrated if the chat doesn't pan out in the way that they imagined. So it could be one bit of feedback there is to actually, try being clear that it's a bot. But yeah, so just 4 lines of chat and an image. That's a great opening sequence. And then if we click on yes.
It's very easy to scan with your eyes, isn't it? You don't have to put any effort into reading it. So, when you first enter a bot, scanning, people will scan, they won't actually read. So that's quite an important thing to remember. So yeah, I'll click left yes for you.
Yeah, and just before we talk about that, actually, so this could, it's obviously the link has been sent through as a full page bot or a bot landing page. What you might find on a site like this, so going back to a point we mentioned earlier, that a lot of people are browsing on mobile these days. We see like 70% of our traffic from mobile. So if they're on the mobile version of this website and they click to chat, perhaps they click on a link which then opens this as a bot landing page. This is a fantastic way to really get people to focus on the bot conversation and provide them with a good, positive user experience, because on a mobile device, often, I don't know if you guys have the same experience, but often I find that with both mobile pages and mobile apps, particularly if I'm in an area where, there isn't a particularly strong internet connection, the usability often is sketchy at best. Like, even with mobile apps, I find they're often kind of buggy and slow. Whereas with a conversation like this, a bot landing page, it's really easy to load. It loads in small chunks. The user won't get frustrated. It's just perfect, really, to get them into a conversation and focus on the conversion goal. So yeah, trying this as a link to a bot landing page on a mobile site is, I think, quite an effective idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, just going to the second sequence. So in this instance, you're kind of starting off the conversation by asking them for their name. Generally, we've kind of moved away from that because we want to give people a little bit of value before we ask for personal details. But it's also fine to kind of do it this way because, often people just want to capture that lead information straight away, keep the conversation short. But, not a good thing to test is perhaps asking for the name slightly later into the conversation. So should we go through this with a name?
Yep.
So brilliant, like, you've used the first name there, used a tag for first name, that's great. That's acknowledging that they've given you their name. You've also said, glad to meet you, and stuck an emoji in there, which is good conversational copy. What I like about this is the sentences are short and snappy, very easy to follow and read, which is exactly how we want to use conversational bot copy. And now there are, we come into like 3 options. So minor roof repairs, major roof repairs, and full roof replacement or a new roof. So for perhaps for this, like, I've already had a look at this bot, so perhaps we could just talking about this on a general level. You'll often get local businesses, who are, trying to generate leads, and they're offering different services, and some people have like an urgent need. So in this case, if you click on minor roof repairs, this is obviously going to be someone who, doesn't need to contact the business straight away. It's not an urgent issue. So in this case, I quite like the fact that, you've actually kind of ended the bot here and just asked them to reach out. And although we won't click on that, I assume that's using the call to click function that we have, which, will kind of generate the phone call from one click. So that's certainly not, it's not a bad way to kind of communicate with someone who needs minor repairs, but I'd perhaps suggest, trying to take them down a different sequence here, and offering them a little bit of info that you can give them about the business, just while you've got their attention. So that could be an option there. If we just reload the bot and quickly go through to the second option, which is
I'm just wondering here as well that there's an opportunity to, rather than give them a phone number, collect their phone number, because if you're giving out a phone number, they might not ring you. Whereas if you ask for their phone number, then you've always got the contact details to ring them. So it's just something to test as to which way round works best. But let me just reload this.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point.
Right, so we're going to go yes again, and then I'm going to put my name in. And which one do you want to go down this time?
Brilliant, thanks, Simon. So let's look at someone who needs major roof repairs. So this is obviously quite, potentially a valuable lead. Again, you kind of acknowledge, so important to acknowledge the selection that they made. So there's some kind of continuity in the conversation, and it seems more natural. I like how you've kind of used an emoji there. I'd say perhaps one thing is that you could probably sprinkle an image. We've had quite a few chat blocks here without an image. It's not essential, but it just makes it more visually engaging. And now you kind of try and, you're qualifying the lead by getting all the different information. What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of sticking image, I'll probably stick one in here with some major roof repairs, and it sort of breaks that up. But yeah, now we are getting down to qualifying a lot more. So yeah, I mean, I think it not only does it give more confidence, but it also obviously provides you with more information that you're going to need when working out quotes or what needs doing. So yeah, I mean, so far, the majority of what I'm seeing here is good and hits most of the points.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's good so far.
Brilliant. And I think particularly we say this to new members that often bots are far more effective than using discovery forms, or are particularly powerful when you use alongside discovery forms, because people might not end up filling out your form. It's not particularly exciting experience for them. Whereas with this, you're just kind of feeding them with data, giving them small bite-sized chunks of information. So if we go through this chat, I think there are lots of different questions that are asked to generate the lead information, but doing it in this conversational style where people just click, click, click. We call these micro conversions, where each time they click, they're kind of getting warmer and warmer as hopefully a converted lead. So should we proceed through the chat unless you had anything to add?
No, I'm good at this point.
Brilliant.
Do you want to go for did you man a townhouse?
Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, again, kind of qualifying the lead. I think we could probably just fast forward through this, and I'll just give a running commentary while it's kind of going on. So the good thing about this bot is that all the sequences are short, they're to the point. The language is really simple. You're not giving them loads and loads of information before they choose a button, because you've got lots of different things to ask them here to generate that same information that you would from a discovery form. And I think one bit of feedback there is that there are a lot of buttons there for the square foot. Sometimes it might be more beneficial to use a carousel. I know that we use a different term in the members area. I think you use a different term, don't you, Simon, for kind of a sliding carousel?
We call them cards in the members area as a user response.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other option would be, and I don't know, it may well be that this is a specific requirement for roofing, but the other option would be to just increase these ranges a little bit. So you could have 1,000 to 2,500 square foot, 2.5 to 5,000, 5 to 10, and 10 plus, and you've just got 4 buttons. It's still qualifying them to a point. Unless it's really important to know specifically, you could try something like that as well.
I think 4 is a good number. I think generally, like more than 4 or 5, I start thinking about cards. Because it just gets too many, and it kind of. Another thing to bear in mind is someone's looking at this on a mobile. All those buttons are going to take the conversation so far down the page that they're going to have to scroll, or even a desktop as well, desktop device. They're going to have to scroll back, to get to where the relevant part of the conversation is. And although we haven't really discussed it much so far, I think another positive aspect of this bot is the delay seems good. It doesn't seem like the information is going too fast or too slow. And that's another aspect of using small sequences, that, you know, even if there's a slight issue with the delay that you're using, perhaps it's too long or too short, you can kind of get away with it with short sequences because people can always catch up with the conversation.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I haven't got anything else to say at this point, so shall I?
I mean, I think it's probably maybe a good time to have a look at the other bot, because we've given quite a bit of good feedback on this. You know, we picked this out as a good bot, you know, someone who clearly understands how to use the platform and you know, follow the rules that we set out in Simon's training videos.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So that was the first bot there. The second bot, which was the page we saw initially, is this one here. And actually, just very quickly before we load this bot, I want to just make a very quick point about something not bot related. And the reason I want to do that is because I get sent a lot of websites from our customers that have got bots on, or for advice on what kind of bots to use. And when I'm looking at those sites, sometimes I see other things on the page that I feel could be improved or might impact on conversions. And one thing that I see an awful lot of, and which is why I'm bringing it up, because this site actually solves the problem, is you can see this text here has got a little white box of background, like a little sort of back highlighted area. I can't think of what the word is now, that is between the text and the background image. And what that does is it makes the text much easier to read. If you had this text on this background image, where there's lots of different colors and stuff going on, the text won't jump out as much, and that really can have an impact. You're not getting your message off as clearly. And the reason I want to bring that up, even though it's not bot related, is because I probably see maybe 5, 6, 7 sites every week where I'm feeling that the messages above the fold on the homepage when you land on it aren't standing out. It's like these words here aren't completely clear to read, but they would be if they had a backdrop, and that's sort of the difference. So I thought I'd just bring that up because I think that can be quite important when we are, after all about increasing conversions. We want to make sure we're doing everything we can on the page as well to make sure that we're maximizing our chances. So I thought I'd just bring that up because this is a good use of what I talk to people about every week. So I'm going to load the bot now.
Great point. Brilliant. Actually, sorry, there was a point that I wanted to discuss just before the bot loads.
Sorry,
you can
reload.
So, yeah, no worries. But yeah, just actually to kind of extend the point that you made, great points. Above the fold, you know, it isn't too busy above the fold, which is good. There's almost like a perfect space on the right-hand side there for a video or some kind of content, you know, that would really add a lot of value, I think, above the fold. And, you know, I like the fact there are buttons as well. So the one thing I'd say about the chat widget is that it doesn't really stand out in the background. It kind of almost blends in because, you know, I know using one of our bot icon images there, but the gray background just blends into the sea there. So it's not standing out that much. Also, in this particular case, there's no bot overlay. You know, we strongly recommend always adding a bot overlay. Not sure if there's a technical issue there actually, but even with the icon not standing out, the overlay with text in it would make it stand out a lot more. So that's something to fix with this bot.
If anybody's not come across a bot overlay yet, it's basically like a little speech bubble effectively that comes out of the bot and has some text in it that draws you to the bot. So you might say click here for whatever, click here for a 10% discount or whatever it might be, and that just draws your attention to the bot. So yeah, but it's got a solid white background, but I think you can actually change the background color, can't you, on that? But yeah, that would certainly help make this stand out a bit more because you've got a bigger block down here and obviously some text as well. So shall I load it up now?
Yeah, I'd really recommend using a dark color too. Yeah, sounds good. So it is a relatively short opening sequence, which is good. We do strongly recommend adding an image in there just because it catches attention straight away. So I definitely add an image, you know, even if it's like a static image rather than a GIF, you know. And actually a point I wanted to cover on the previous bot, which is relevant to this as well, is that Yeah, we recommend using GIFs where appropriate, but let's say someone's looking for like an urgent roofing repair. You know, they're out there looking on the net. An entertaining GIF is probably not the most appropriate image to use. And a lot of you guys, you know, will be building bots or have bots on your site.
I think we've actually lost connection with Imran. Let me just send him a message to let him know. Yeah, he should hopefully be back very soon. But one thing I did want to point out, just while we're waiting for Imran to come back, I'm not quite sure, he must have a dodgy connection. I noticed on this bot that somebody has actually increased the font size to make it more readable. I think in a normal font size, for example, this particular message block might seem a little bit more unreadable, but where it's been made a little bit larger, it is easier to read. That said, I wouldn't put any more text than what we're seeing here in any one message block. So I think we've got Imran back now, have we? No.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you are back. You are back.
Slight technical glitch.
No problem.
Yeah, brilliant.
Sorry. Carry on.
So yeah, again, perhaps, you know, it's a bit too early in the conversation to ask for the name. Generally, when people click on bots, you know, they tend to prefer an anonymized interaction at first, and then you kind of need to build a bit more value, which you can to an extent if you have a lot of content on your site. So it's not always the case that you know, you go and ask for the first name. It's just something that we kind of move towards and is our preference. But yeah, certainly they could scan your page, get value, and then open the bot widget. And then perhaps they would be willing to give you their first name, you know, early in the conversation. But often what we find is when, you know, we install heat maps on our site, and what we find is that people click the bot icon very early into their journey on your landing page. So that is something to bear in mind.
Sure.
Yeah, should we go through this one?
Yeah, I'll put my name in. Here's actually an example where there's probably too many buttons. I'm not sure if we've lost Imran again.
Yeah. Sorry, can you hear me? Okay? Yeah.
Yep.
So, and another thing that struck me here is that you want to use the same color for your buttons within the chat that you do on your landing page. If you just have a quick scroll down this landing page, please, Simon. So there's good consistent use of red buttons there, which is great. You know, that's definitely going to provide a kind of positive user experience, you know, some continuity. But the chat buttons are blue, which, you know, I'd always recommend keeping that color consistent in the chat widget as well.
Yep, that makes sense. It's consistency.
Absolutely, yeah, because ultimately you want to get them into a frame of mind where they're kind of clicking buttons, whether that's, you know, people don't just click buttons randomly, and you know, they consume information, and the click is a meaningful click because, you know, they've read the text above, and you know, you're starting to focus their mind on the information they need. So consistency there is definitely really important, and if you do, you know, visually, if you see red on the landing page and you see red in the widget, I think you're far more likely to kind of click through. And once you get that initial click, you've got your first micro conversion. And then each time they get through, you know, the chat sequence and keep on clicking, those buttons, they're just becoming warmer and warmer prospects.
Yeah.
So should we try one of these options?
Yeah, I'm going to do credit repair.
So I think one of the reasons why we picked out this bot is, if we just go back to the bot itself, sorry.
I just need to go through it because obviously it's set up a redirect. So I'll just click through.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll just explain. Yeah, I'll just explain the point while that goes through. So I think in this case, like, you know, it's perfectly fine to kind of link to an external page. You know, we do if you're using Calendly, you know, and you want to book an appointment or a meeting, like that's a really good use of you know, the bot, and combining it with the power of you know, an external booking app like Calendly. The only thing is with this particular bot, if you click through on credit repair, I'm just waiting for it to load.
It's gone on my screen by the time we get there.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a redirect straight away there. Yeah. So I mean, we can just discuss that quickly whilst you know, that's totally fine. So with a redirect, we generally only recommend that, you know, right towards the end of the bot. And if you're gonna add that quite early in the bot conversation, you know, you want to see your bot as an opportunity to actually give people more information about the business. If you're ending the bot sequence quite early in the chat, no matter what the flow, you're kind of missing an opportunity to give people other relevant information about the business, because you kind of got their attention. You know, I think even if they're not on your desktop or on a mobile, you know, they might be distracted very, very easily on a mobile device in particular. So whilst you've got their attention, what we don't really recommend is ending the bot sequence quite early within the chat. You know, if you want them to book an appointment and you want to get that early within the chat, that's totally fine. But it's something that I would personally recommend, that you kind of feed them a bit more information before you actually ask them to make a booking, because you need to get them a little bit warmer, I feel.
Yep, I'm going to. Are there any of these that we can go down where we're not going to be a redirect?
I'm not too sure about that, but I'm conscious of the fact that we've been discussing these two bots for a while now, so perhaps we should maybe move on to questions.
Yep.
But yeah, hope that gave you some good kind of insights, guys. We often repeat the same points over and over, particularly the ones that, you know, made in the training, just because we're trying to drum those best practices into you. And we'll probably try and do this quite regularly, so that, you know, it just becomes second nature, because I know a lot of people like using the templates. They're there for a reason. But you know, you'll soon find that
Imran's cutting out a little bit, so we've lost him again. But I did want to just bring up one quick point actually before we completely move to questions.
Platform that building bots, you know, with our platform is super easy.
I'm getting
learning those best practices.
On a mad delay now, so I'm going to turn my audio down just in case he's coming out in the background. But one thing I do want to just pick up on about when we request a name, because we talked about this in the previous bot clinic, and it did actually bring a lot of questions into the support desk. So I want to give an example of when you might use name up front. And actually a word there that Imran just mentioned, which was people getting distracted. If people get distracted halfway through a bot, if a bot's slightly longer, it may be they get a phone call or somebody comes to the door, or there's some sort of distraction. They don't actually finish going through the bot. That's when you might want to have a name already and maybe a number as well. And to give an example, when somebody emailed me in the week and asked why one of our real estate bots asks for name and either number or email, I can't remember, but they're the first two things it asks for. And the reason that I would, in that scenario, maybe recruitment would be another one where it would work. The reason why I would do it that way round is because the bot generally is going to be asking quite a lot of questions to gather data. You want to know the kind of house somebody is looking for. You want to know the number of bedrooms they want, maybe the number of bathrooms they want, whether they need transport links, whether they need schools, whether there's a lot of information to grab. Now, if you're asking for all of that information before you've grabbed somebody's contact details, then there's a whole load of reasons why they could get distracted and never complete the bot. And therefore, when you get the data, if they left halfway through, you might find out that somebody wants a 5-bedroom house in this area near to a school, but you've got no way of contacting them. So it's a bit of a waste of a lead, because you've only got the information they want, not who they are. Whereas in that case, if you can get a name and a phone number up front, if there are any distractions and people disappear halfway through, you can pick up the phone, have the conversation and get the rest of that information. Now, another reason why that would work for real estate is because people expect, if somebody's looking for a house, any of you that would look for a house, when you contact a real estate agent, you expect to give them details. Somebody's not just asking you for something out of the blue. You're going to them and saying, I want a house. Well, okay, in order for me to find you a house, I need to know who you are and what you want. So in that case, and I say recruitment could be something quite similar because you're used to giving your details to recruitment consultants as well. It would be okay to ask for a name and a contact number first, just in case there's any dropout, and you can finish the conversation via phone. So that's an example of where you might do it the other way around. But generally speaking, you always want to give before you take, as a general rule. So we want to give information before we ask to take data. So I just thought I'd do that because, again, that's another question that we do get fairly frequently. Now, Imran, I don't know whether you're back now, but it was weird then because I was hearing you every time I said something.
Oh, I'm sorry about the glitches. Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to add to that. I think that's perhaps a good point to maybe kind of move on to questions. I feel like we've covered quite a bit there, you know, between those two bots and the various scenarios and best practices. So perhaps we can move to questions.
Sure. So I'm just having a little look through questions now. If you can find any that are good, Imran, or you found any that are good, please do feel free to jump on. There's a lot of messages here. I just want to go through and make sure I can find what I'm doing. So one question I can see here: how do you get the bot to appear to move to add visual character? This is from Chris Pipka. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that name very well. So when you say to add visual character, do you mean like a GIF like we have on a lot of our bots where it's moving? Because in that case, all you need to do is, instead of uploading an image as your bot icon, you can simply add a GIF. And you do it in exactly the same way, and you can do it from either a GIF that you've got on your machine that you want to upload, or you can do it from the GIF URL from a GIF site like giphy.com or whatever, and you can insert that and it would use that. So if you want to have the bot icon moving, Imran was mentioning a minute ago on this website on screen how the icon sort of blends in. Well, if you've got a moving GIF, then obviously that's going to draw your attention. So it's not going to blend in, it's going to stand out. So that's how you would do that, if that is what you were referring to, Chris.
Yeah, I see a question here from Amber. She asks, is there a way to get the bot to contact a human if it doesn't answer the question the customer is looking to ask? So yeah, absolutely. This feature that we've been working on for quite a while is our human handover feature. That's going to be the best way to do it. It's literally like advanced stage of beta, you know, training videos or, you know, getting ready to do them. It's going to be the perfect way for, you know, a situation where the bot doesn't deal or doesn't quite deal with the question that the human has. Perhaps, you know, it's slightly too complex, or, you know, it's not what they're looking for. And at the click of a button, it's just going to pass that over to a human. And, you know, you can jump into the conversation at any point. And it's actually, it's not just for kind of handing over to humans as well. You might find that, you know, and you can do this through our Facebook version right now. You might follow a conversation between a bot and the end user and decide, actually, I'm going to jump in here because, you know, maybe this is someone who's a really valuable lead. Because often, you know, bots are used to qualify leads and pass them over to humans. So it is kind of a two-pronged approach. It's both handing over to a human and also what we call human takeover, where you just jump in and take over the chat and try and close the deal or generate the lead there.
Okay, great. I've got one here. There's kind of two that might both be able to be answered in the same sort of point. Kaz asks, do you run the risk of the funnel being too long? And I guess you mean the conversation funnel within the bot. And I guess people are going to have different answers to this. Imran might feel differently to me about certain aspects, but it really depends on the kind of bot you're building and what you're using it for. Now, my view as a general rule is anytime somebody's on a website and they enter a live chat widget or a bot widget, they're doing that because they have a need for something or a problem to be solved, or they want information. Now, not many of us go into that thinking, I really want to be in this widget for 15 minutes, talking to somebody or gathering information. The whole point of having the sort of communication via a widget on your website is because it's an instant solution, rather than asking somebody to email in when they don't know when they're going to get a response. It could be in 10 minutes, it could be in 10 hours, it could be in 10 days. It's an unknown factor. So a lot of the time people want to get in and out quickly. So it really depends on what you're trying to do. I would say if you're trying to generate leads by capturing data, I think you want to be fairly quick with what you're doing. You want to provide value before you ask for the lead data. That's fine. If you're doing more of a sales through the bot, then I think you could probably extend it and have a longer bot, because you're wanting to warm people up and perhaps take them on more of a journey. So I think it does come down to the type of bot you're wanting to build and the purpose of the bot. But as a general rule, I would say most bots are probably better. I'm not saying being very short, but don't just try and add content for the sake of it. I think that can ultimately be more damaging. I mean, I don't know whether you've got any different views on that, Imran.
No, I generally agree, actually. I was having a conversation with someone who uses our bot to sell high-ticket items, like $1,000 or more. And you know, he's generating sales, you know, high-ticket sales through using the bot. And his bot, I believe, is quite a big one, because you know the bot's kind of complementing the website, but it's also kind of like a real selling device as well, particularly, you know, I keep on mentioning it, but particularly on mobile, where people might be, you know, just scanning the site and just naturally find themselves clicking on the icon on mobile and getting into a conversation. So, you know, with this, I do believe it's very kind of device specific. So in general, I'd kind of say, you know, if you've got the time, use 2 different bots. For mobile, particularly if you're generating leads, try using a shorter bot, because you know people are going to have a far shorter concentration span on mobile. On desktop, you can try using a far, you know, more in-depth bot to really qualify and generate leads or generate sales. But what we found in our experience was that, you know, across all devices, that shorter bots generally kind of worked a lot better. But I don't think we've ever used a bot to sell high-ticket items. So, you know, it really depends on the purpose of the bot.
Yeah, exactly. And as with anything to do with bots, guys, and you'll hear me say this an awful lot in training and in calls or anything else, everything is there to be tested. There's no sort of definitive answer in a lot of cases. If you have 2 bots that are slightly different, maybe make a long version of a bot and a short version of a bot, and test them against each other, do some A/B split testing, then you'll see which one performs the best. And just the other point I wanted to make, which just touches on this point, Gary Jones asked or says, I don't think anyone likes chatting with a computer, so I would not ask for a name until the point someone is going to contact the client. I think people don't mind chatting to a computer. I think all of the stats, all of the data shows that people are happy to communicate with a bot. And coming back to my previous point, people would rather enter into conversation with a bot if it's going to solve their problem there and then than email a real person not knowing when they're going to get a response. So it depends how you use the bot. People don't mind communicating with bots depending on what the communication is for. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about too much about that. I don't think people have got a problem chatting to computers, Gary. I think that's fine as long as you're using it in the right way.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
a quick one, Marlon Colson, would you please be able to email us at support and include a link through to your website so we can take a look at that for you? It sounds to me like there is a small technical issue that we just need to have a look at on that particular bot. So if you could just email us and let us know, then we'll sort that for you.
Just a question I wanted to touch on, which is from Jeffrey. He's asking, what control do you have over the overlays? So the overlays are really, really important to kind of capturing attention, and what we do, as well as the chat overlays. So I mean, the kind of like the speech bubble that you see next to the icon. We also use GIFs to really catch attention. So it's kind of like the image combined with the chat, with the exact text you're using in the speech bubble or text overlay. So you have full control over the text in the overlay, but what we recommend is not using a particularly long message in that text overlay, because on some devices it might actually get cut off, particularly on mobile. So you want to keep it short and sweet. And another aspect that you have control over is when somebody closes the bot, you can then change the overlay message that appears next to the bot icon. And that's a really good way to get people to kind of revisit the bot or go back into the conversation. Or, we found works really effectively, particularly if you're in e-com, is to perhaps like kind of advertise a coupon in the overlay there, particularly after they've already engaged with the bot and closed it down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that overlay is a really important thing. If you're using a widget on a website, you really should be using overlay. It really does increase your click-through for the bot. Just a very quick one, because we've just touched on the background image on this full-page bot here. Somebody says, if I use a background image in my widget, will there be any loading issues? That was Cesar Scaff. So there won't be any loading issues. What I would say is, if you're using a background image on a widget, just be mindful that if you can just see on screen that you're only going to see the widget section. So if I actually come back to this one and load it up, you're only going to see this section. Now, you've got a far smaller area outside of the chat. So you don't really want anything, like Imran was mentioning earlier, you don't want any distraction from the chat at all. So my personal preference is not to use images on widgets. If you want to change the color so it's not just boring old white or whatever, then just use one color that isn't too strong and just blends in. Because if you had too much going on too near the text, it's like this situation we're seeing here. Although the text is always going to be in a bubble, so that's going to have a solid background behind it, I just think in a widget you don't want to distract too much. So that would be my view on that. Obviously you can try different things and again test it, but I would always use a solid background color.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that, and you just want to keep it consistent as well, but not necessarily the case that, like, so perhaps your background, like our sales page is purple. We have tested this, but sometimes you don't necessarily want to use the same color in the background of the widget, that it matches with a particularly strong color that you might use on your landing page, because then there's almost too much of a clash. You want your chat widget to stand out a little bit. And yeah, we can have a look at that actually.
I just want to bring it up as well, because somebody else has asked just on this, can you use text instead of an image? I'm just going to find out who that was now. I've lost it. Yeah, can you use words instead of a picture? That was Jamel. So I just want to show you that, I mean, if you look at here, we've got words and a picture and a GIF actually. So not only have we got the words drawing your attention, this is the overlay here, we've also got a moving GIF image. So in that case, it really does draw your attention. So to answer your question, you can use both. Sorry, man, I just thought I'd do that while we're bringing that up. But I thought I'd load this up because it might help us use as an example.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And we've kind of intentionally used a light yellow there because it just contrasts nicely with the background. We have tested it and it just results in a higher click-through rate. So certainly the color within the actual text overlay is really important. Then if you actually click on the widget itself, please, Simon.
Yep, sorry, I can. I was just reading
So if you see here, we've actually used a purple background because obviously purple is one of our brand colors, but the page background is white. So if the actual page background was purple, there'd just be too much of a clash. You couldn't really separate out the widget from the actual background. So it is quite important to keep things nice and simple within this. I've just noticed actually that we talk about keeping button colors consistent. We actually took this from a different landing page, so that's actually an error on our part, which we need to fix. Is that you ignore that. You definitely need to keep the button colors consistent. But in terms of going back to the point about background, yeah, definitely plain backgrounds.
let's have a little look. George Cowan here asks, are overlays controlled by the bot? So George, when you open the bot builder, you've got a number of different sections. So you've got the builder, and then you've got a design section. In the design section, you can control the overlay that appears, the overlay text that appears initially, and then you can see also now I've closed it, we've got different overlay text appearing. So you can control both of those on the design tab of the bot builder.
Yeah, I see a question from Rob. What is the red circle number next to the widget? So that basically is something to attract attention to kind of indicate that there are unread messages. You know, usually you might put a 1 or a 2. It's what people commonly kind of associate with chat apps that they might have on their mobile. You know, they see an indication that they've got unread messages. So it's just a little kind of gimmick to encourage people to open the chat.
I've got a question here that I want to cover because I think this will be your problem. If it's not, then please do send it to me and I'll have a look at it. But Paula and Mark Bernard ask, I have a demo bot that is in my back office, but when I share it with a client who has an iPhone, nothing shows up. Do I need to have the bot activated and running before they're able to see the demo? Just want to make sure that you have launched it, because if you have a bot in your back end that you can review, you can preview it in the preview. If you haven't hit launched, any changes you've made or any bot that you've built is only updated locally within your back end. It won't be pushed live onto the widget or the full page bot where the bot is actually hosted. So you just need to make sure that you do click launch in the bot builder for that specific bot, to make sure that all of the changes and the bot content has been pushed out to the live server, so that if anybody else sees it either by a full page bot link or a preview demo link, etc., the content will display. The reason I want to mention that is because again, I probably must have around 10 emails a week where people say my bot's not working, and it turns out that all they're missing is just pressing that launch button. So please check that. If that doesn't solve it, then please email me. Sometimes a little through.
I'd say a few technical questions actually, but I think really for technical questions, it's best to actually open a support ticket in our system, because they're probably not really going to be something that we can answer live on air. They're going to require the technical team to look into, and we're happy to do that. We generally try and keep this to like a strategy session, but yeah, no, we'll absolutely help with technical issues if you've got any.
Just a quick question here, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure if the person who sent this bot through, I'm sorry I didn't make a note of your name, was Chris O'Connor or not. Because Chris O'Connor has asked, shall I use an overlay if the bot opens in 2 seconds, or should I embed the bot in the right hand side of the page in the ocean part of the page? I don't know whether he's just using this as an example because it's on screen, but what Chris, I think you're asking is there any point in having overlay text if you've got the bot set to automatically open? And I'd say there probably isn't, because you're not going to give people the chance to read the overlay text. But what I would do, where overlay text is going to be massively important if you've got a bot that opens automatically, is there's going to be a lot of people who close the bot straight away if it opens automatically. I wouldn't say a lot. It depends on how the action is coming on the page, but you certainly want to cover for anybody who closes the bot and have overlay text appearing there. So really, I would focus more on the secondary overlay text than the first. To cover your part about should you embed a bot, I think what you're asking is, should you embed a bot on this part of the page because there's so much space? You can do that. The only thing to bear in mind is if somebody scrolls down the page, suddenly your embedded bot has disappeared, where obviously a widget will be wherever they scroll, it'll always sit in the same spot. So again, it's a bit boring, but that's always something that you can test. Imran mentioned like using a video or something here, and that would be fantastic. But if you have got that space, try it with a bot there and see. But it's always just worth testing to see what's going to give you the best results. And that could vary from site to site, industry to industry. So I don't think there's necessarily a set answer to that. Right, I just want to have another little look.
And it's an interesting point about.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I think it might be a slight delay. Yes, an interesting point about using a bot that automatically opens. There are perhaps differing opinions on this, but my personal preference has never been basically to never actually do that, because in my mind, I have tested it to an extent, but perhaps need to revisit it and test it more. It just becomes a little bit of an annoyance when a bot automatically opens. For me, somebody who actually clicks on a widget and wants to chat, that's just a far more kind of targeted click, than someone who's effectively just clicking to either close the widget because it's automatically opened, or is going through the conversation and clicking. I think their whole intention is different if they actually actively open the widget. So just a personal preference, but I've never actually used a bot which automatically opens on the page.
I've got an interesting question here from Gary Jones, who asks, how close are you to being able to auto respond by email to questions posed in the bot? So, I mean, really, there's not a way to email a response to a specific question unless you had lots of different email lists set up. But what you, of course, can do is any email address that you collect through the bot can be added to an autoresponder that sends an automated email out straight away. So you can respond to somebody by email by collecting an email in a bot. But obviously, the email you send them is going to be one email for that particular list. It's not going to respond to different requests. So you can definitely respond to them via email, but you're not going to be able to do it on a question by question basis unless you've got some clever strategy of having lots of different lists set up. And I think that might be a bit complicated.
Question here from Francis. He asked, should we use different bots for getting leads versus getting sales for B2B versus B2C? I think like the structure of a bot, like when you're trying to get sales, but like generally they do need to be a little bit more complex. Whereas with some lead generation bots, they can be extremely short. But in terms of like B2B versus B2C, I don't think the structure of the bot will actually differ too much, because the purpose is the same. It's just the content really that will perhaps differ. But yeah, there's more of a contrast between getting leads and getting sales. That's where you might need a slightly deeper bot for getting sales.
There's a question just come in from David Block. He asked, what is the best way to capture and manage responses from the viewers? So this is going to really depend on what the bot's doing. If it's a bot that you're using, what are you trying to use it for? So how will you use the information that's collected? So if we look at the real estate recruitment consultant that I just mentioned a minute ago, all of the data that they capture, ideally they want to send that straight to their sales CRM, so their sales team can contact these people and show them jobs or houses or try and get their property on the market or whatever. So the best use of the managing the data there is to send it straight to a CRM. If you're looking to build email lists, then obviously you want to send that data to your email service provider. So it really depends how you're looking to manage that data, and every situation might be slightly different. So there's not really a set answer for that. If you're managing it for a client, ask them how they want to use the data, and then you can work it out. And of course, if you've got any doubts at all, you can contact us and we'll be able to help you with that.
Yeah, I see a good one from Rob Snowden, which is kind of a feature request, which I'm going to make a note of right now. It's about questionnaires being submitted for new prospective clients for the agency feature. Yes, definitely we should set up email notifications for that. Actually, we're planning a big overhaul, particularly of the agency website. We've been working on that quite a bit, and that's definitely a good feature that we'll try and implement at the same time that we bring out the new website template. It's going to be really exciting, actually, guys, with the new website template. It's going to be, drag and drop. There'll be lots of options. We've got videos as well that you can use on your agency website. There's lots of customizations. It'll be easy to add content, be easy to add multiple pages, different languages. It's kind of a long-term project that we've been working on, and we're getting very, very close to hopefully having that ready.
Yeah, I've seen some good updates on that actually, and it does seem like it is coming together quite well. So yeah, that's looking quite good. Just very quickly, Chris, again, Pipka, however that's pronounced. Regarding the skip feature, can you email me on that? I mean, it might be, first of all, also another thing that we have got a new design for is our chat widget. We're working on a design for that, and certain features like the skip option are going to stand out a little bit more. So I don't know whether that is just people not seeing the button to skip, or whether or not you've got a problem getting it to work on your bot. So if you could email me about that, please email me on simon@conversionbot.com, and I will get that looked at for you.
And I see another one from Dudley here about bots automatically opening. So it does on desktop for him, but not on mobile. It might just be a technical issue. You know, please do submit a ticket for that. But again, like, just a word of warning that, you know, if you are using bots that automatically open on mobile, it might really harm the user experience. Just because
I will point out at this point as well is that I don't think all features work the same on mobile as they do on desktop, because obviously they're slightly different animals. So for example, I think the bot hover feature, so when you hover near the icon on desktop, that will force it to open without a click. I don't think that works on mobile, for example. So there are some slight differences. It may well be that we actually disabled the auto open feature for mobile because it was just receiving too many complaints.
Yeah, that might well be the case actually, and you know, it's something I'd strongly recommend not using on mobile. Say question here from Basil. Aside from using Zapier, is there any other way to connect the bot with Google Sheets? So we've got a native integration with Google Sheets. It's been done. It's been beta tested. It's going to hopefully be released within the next few weeks. It's just a case of, like, you know, we have quite an extensive beta testing phase, so that, you know, we don't release features which have bugs for you guys. But that's definitely a really useful feature that we're excited about, and we're going to be announcing that very, very soon.
Yeah, that should be very soon. Actually, I do need to sit down and record a video for that. I think that's on my list actually, so that shouldn't be too long. I can see a question here from Paul Martin, who asks, is it on the roadmap to allow keyword responses? I'm looking to run a treasure trail, need people to type a word, and if it matches a keyword, it would give them the next clue. Yes, so that is, we have an integration, again, that's waiting. It's being tested at the moment and should be ready very soon, which allows us to do that using Google Dialogflow. So it will mean that people can actually type questions into the bot, and you know, the bot can basically pick out keywords like you mentioned and produce a response that's in line with what they've asked. So that is something that's going to be coming soon. And yeah, your treasure trail is the perfect kind of use on how that might work. So I'd be interested, we're really interested to see how you develop with that when that's pushed live, which should be very soon. So yeah, please, Paul, when you see that feature's live and ready, which will be very soon, please do send your bot through when you've done it and let me know how you get on.
That is actually the perfect use case, because one thing with that feature is that you know, it's slightly complicated to use, because you really have to sit down and plan, you know, a bot to some meticulous detail. Otherwise, you risk, you know, users having a bad experience. But in this case, that's actually relatively straightforward to map out, and probably one of the best use cases I've heard actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be, that's why I'm really interested to see it, because it's quite a nice entry for the mind into the world of setting those up, because like Imran said, they do require a little bit of thought. One question I just want to cover here. Somebody asked, if you're working with a client that has no idea on adding the bot code, what is the best method to offer the client to get it installed on their web host? So in most cases, in fact in all cases, people should be able to install the code. Now, if they don't know how to do it themselves, they will have somebody who looks after their website, either a webmaster, or they have it hosted with you know, a site like GoDaddy, a company like GoDaddy. Now, in all of these cases, you'll be able to speak to somebody to find out how to install a short bit of code to their site. Now, just to give you just a very quick understanding on how this works, the way that we install bots onto websites is standard for installing any kind of widget on a site. Most websites at some point will want to install a little bit of code to their head tag. It's not uncommon. Different sites have different ways of doing it. Sites like Shopify and Wix actually give you a section where you can add code to your head tag. So if you're not sure, or your client's not sure, and they will be sure if they've got a webmaster or somebody in-house who manages their website, because it's a very basic request. If they're not, then just ask them to contact their website provider and say, look, I want to just install a short snippet of code to my head tag. How do I do it? They will get requests like that every day, so they will be able to answer that very, very quickly. And it's literally a 2-minute response and a 30-second demo to show you how it's done, and then that'll be done. So that there shouldn't ever be a reason why someone can't install a bot.
Yeah, just a quick question here about the touchable or clickable area of the chatbot being too big. So just very quickly dealing with that, that's going to involve some custom coding. So if you open a technical ticket, we'll be happy to help you with that. You know, we see all the time, particularly on mobile, there are so many different devices that, you know, it can disrupt user experience. It can be tricky to ensure that, you know, it does work across different devices. So, you know, please do open a technical ticket and our team will be on that. And hopefully it'll just be a simple fix. A few questions about replays as well. Like we'll always be sending out replays of these bot clinics, guys. Also, if you go to the members area and check bonus training, we're uploading all the replays to that area of the members app.
Now, guys, we are 1 minute past 6. We normally allocate an hour to these. There is just one more question that certainly I want to cover very, very quickly, because I think it's quite an important one. And that is Kevin Sinclair, who asks, is there a way to make the code not say ConversioBot? I don't want their developer to know what it is created in. So what Kevin is asking here is that the snippet of code that we were just talking about that you would send to somebody to install on their website, when you see that in the members area, it will have ConversioBot in it, because obviously it's referencing our site where things are installed. Now, if you don't want to display ConversioBot because you're not using it on your own site, you're using it on a client site and you want that to remain anonymous, then just set up a custom domain. Then all of your code will use whatever domain it is that you want to use. So that is the best way to manage that, Kevin. And if you've got any questions on it, please just email our support. It's something that we do all the time. It's the same way that you would set up a custom domain for a full page bot. It's exactly the same process. So yeah, that's the way to do it. Any questions, please contact us.
Yeah, just before we wrap up, actually, guys, I'd be interested just to get your feedback on how you find these clinics. We've got a really good turnout, which is fantastic, and it'd just be really interesting to know what you guys think, because we do review all the comments, and you know, any feedback is much appreciated. And I think you were going to mention a session next week's
yeah, so next week, guys, we're not running a bot clinic, but we do have a very exciting masterclass with a guy called Mr. X. And he's going to be coming on to reveal a lot of his secrets on how he is absolutely dominating e-commerce at the moment. And what I will say is, anybody who's into e-commerce, this is a must watch for you. And anybody who's not, I would come along anyway, because there's going to be lots of really interesting points that I'm sure you can use for a number of things. So that masterclass is going to be next Thursday. I think it's the 15th of April, next Thursday, but next Thursday anyway. So please do come and join us on that. And we'll have more information about the next bot clinic as well very, very soon. Now, I don't know whether you've got anything to add, Imran, before we leave.
Yeah, it was just a quick one about the workshop next week. So it's with Mr. X, who's kind of like a mysterious underground guy. We can't actually reveal who he is until the workshop itself. You know, he's kind of coming out for the very first time with this method that he's got. But one thing we often get asked in our community is about traffic. And this guy is an absolute master at traffic, and it's all based on free traffic as well. So we're kind of really excited for him to kind of like, you know, just open the curtains and show you like step by step what he's doing, because we've had a look behind the scenes, and we honestly think it's going to help a lot of people in our community.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk from experience on this as well, because I spent a few years doing e-commerce, and I know of the problems that people face. And so when I first discovered this, you know, I was really excited to, first of all, speak to Mr. X, and I've had a nice chat with him over the last week or so. And so I'm really excited for what he's got to share, because I know the problems that can be faced with traffic, etc. And yeah, so this is something unique. I'd never seen it, having worked in e-commerce. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I know that I'm going to learn a load of stuff as well. So yeah, we look forward to seeing you there. And like I say, we will update as to when the next bot clinic will be. And yeah, we will let you guys know about that. And of course, we're keen to see as many of you join on that as well. And we will send the replay link out for this just as soon as it's ready. So guys,
Yes.
I mean, I haven't got anything more to add this week. And Imran, if you're good, then we can wrap up this session.
Yeah, so I just have a couple of comments about people whose questions we haven't got to. Really sorry, guys. There are quite a few questions coming through, and just picking out stuff that kind of gives everyone a bit of value. But you know, please do email us on support@conversiobot.com if you've got any questions, and you know, we'll be happy to help.
Yeah, sorry guys, there are more questions than we do have time this week. We've already run slightly over, so I'm really sorry about that. We can't possibly get to every question. Do email me on simon@ or support@conversiobot.com, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. And of course, do come back for the next bot clinic. If we missed your question, then get it in as early as possible next time, and there's more chance that we're going to be able to see that, because it can be challenging when you're trying to look at two screens and answer questions, and we don't want to leave too much silence on the space, guys, because that's not very engaging for you. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. We'll do what we can next time, and do email if need be. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us, Imran. It's always good to have your thoughts on things. You're a bit of an expert when it comes to copy, so it's always good to have your input. So thanks for that. And guys, we'll see you next time. So thank you and take care.
Thanks, guys. Take care.